Well, let me do this first. Tell a history story. Let me finish this match and I will. Okay, Dwarf, I have, let's see, we can do, Clement V and Avion and the Templar, the Western Schism, or the Time of Three Popes, Caligula's beef with Neptune, or the British War Illusionist. It's the story about how in World War II, Britain used a man. Hold on. Gary, okay, Gary is still there. Back in World War II, Britain used a man who was a stage illusionist to do like camouflage operations and stuff. The British dwarf picked a British story, yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll do that one. Let me just finish this up real quick. Yeah, I'm probably gonna lose this one. This has been pretty knockout drag out though. Yep. Caffrey's not gonna be able to take them both down. No matter how much I wish she could. Alright, girlie, just if you can take out the Platypus, that's all I want. Thank you. You're gonna die to Gario in a second, but I love you. Bye. Alright. Alright, let me get into my my tale-telling form. Oh. Let me get into my tale-telling form here. Okay. So the British War Illusionist, basically, we're dealing with World War II era. There was a man named Jasper Maskelyne who was born to a family of stage illusionists in 1902. His whole family, like his uncles, his father, even his mother actually was like a magician in her own right, which is kind of insane to think about for the times. But he grew up in it. He started performing and acting on stage when he was in his like early teens and was very popular. He had actually a very successful career as a stage magician prior to World War II. So he was born in 1902, meaning when World War II broke out, he would have been, let me do some quick math real quick. He would have been 41 when World War II broke out. 37. Am I thinking about when America joined the war? Hold on. Yes, I'm thinking about when America joined the war in 43. So yeah, he would have been 37. You're correct. But so when the war broke out, he joined the British military. He was literally walked into the recruiting office and went, "Hi, I'm an illusionist. I can help the war effort." And the recruiter goes, all right, and signs papers for him to go be a rifleman. But so he goes through boot camp and everything. He was not a good soldier. The man was not used to taking orders. He was very used to being the center of attention. Was just not a great soldier. He was kind of shuffled around all over the place. He was in every theater for a short period of time as a soldier, and then he ended up in what was called I can make this rifle disappear. Yeah, Alika. Private, where'd our tank go? But anyway, he ended up in the Middle Eastern theater around the time that Patton pushed Rommel up into it out of Africa. And he ended up in something called the Middle East Camouflage Command Directorate. Oh. Thank you, Disaster. He ended up in something called the Middle East Camouflage Command Directorate. So he was given a really important thing because now they're finally like, okay, you know what? You're fine. You're an illusionist. You've been telling us this for years. We're going to put you in the people that are in charge of like making sure strategic locations don't get bombed and stuff like that. Well, of course, he excels at this. He's actually responsible for the whole fake town getting bombed trick that like we have used a couple times since. So basically the Bay of Alexandria was a very important port for the Allies to get resources into like Gibraltar and stuff like that. So, but it was getting bombed daily by the German Air Force. So he gets there and that's his first assignment. Figure out a way to keep the Germans from bombing Alexandria. And he goes, all right. He looks around, realizes they always come at the same time of night. So he's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. There's a similar inlet a couple miles down. We're going to go. Yes, it is my birthday. Thank you, Dro. Yeah, today is actually my birthday. So thank you so much. So there's a similar inlet a few miles down and he goes, all right, this is what we're going to do. They always come at this time of night. Give us a couple days. We're to go down there in secret. Thank you, TV. Yeah, I am 33 years old today, and I feel ancient. But we're gonna go down there. We're gonna build an exact replica of Alexandria, but we're gonna build it as cheaply and as quickly as possible, and it doesn't have to look good. They always bomb at night, so they did that. They literally went down there and they built up framing and stuff and hung tarps and stuff to make it look like Alexandria. And they even like planted like dummy explosives and stuff all over the place. So, and some fires. He orders Alexandria a couple days later. All right, guys, look, lights out. I need you to completely follow this curfew. There should be not a light on in this city. Okay. They're tired of getting bombed. They do it. They go down, they light off some of the dummy bombs in the fake town and stuff like that. The Axis make their bombing run. They see this town. It's already on fire. And like the wing commander goes, oh, okay, I guess someone else hit it. So they turn around, they drop a bomb like short nearby, just, for good measure, I guess, and fly on back. So it works. This becomes standard, and this saves Alexandria from getting bombed for the 900th time, because Alexandria has been burned to the ground. I don't know how many times off the top of my head. But his group, he is just superstardom overnight. So they become known as the Magic Squad after that. Well, flash forward, we're at the Second Battle of El Alamein. The German and Italian commanders see British tank lines staging in the south, and they know the Americans are close behind. So for 6 weeks, they watch them build up, because to them, they're like, okay, well, they're staging to the south of us. They can't do anything about it. Like, we've got this whole line covered. So the Italians and the German tanks, and this is Rommel himself. It's like, all right, they're afraid to push, because they know that if they push past us, there's no allies. They like literally will cut themselves off. And 6 weeks, sit there, watch it, just builds up and builds up and builds up. The Axis leaders did know the buildup was false. They literally put as many as they could on the front line, while and made things not look like strange at all. It looked like a build-up, but that was, most of them were, a couple of them were fake, just outright fake tanks they built. Most of them were, you know, damaged tanks that weren't really useful for fighting yet. A couple were, there were a solid few good ones. Well, most of the forces were slowly making their way around the tank line with canvas covers and stuff over them disguised as rocks, and they were moving very slowly. So for 6 weeks, they solid snaked a bunch of tanks around the German and Italian tank lines in the middle of the desert. They just went completely wide, had kept campfires down. They slept in the tanks. They had all the tanks were dressed up and everything. And they managed to wrap them around. And at the Battle of El Alamein is considered one of the biggest tank victories of World War II, because we were able to pincer both the Italian, combined forces of the British and Americans were able to pincer both the Italian and the German tank lines. And we're talking like literally wire and wood frame sheets all over the vehicles, moving them at half and quarter speed, literally hoping the heat distortion from being in the desert made people think that, oh, is that rock moving? No, it's the heat. It's a trick in my eyes. So yeah, it basically was a massive victory, and that actually allowed us to push the Axis out of the Middle East and kind of condense them all into Europe, which eventually let us surround them and win the war. So it literally, a illusionist, a guy who was a stage illusionist, came up with this idea and solid snaked an entire tank column into a pincer attack that was one of the most important battles of World War II. And that's about Jasper Maskelyne, the British war illusionist. I haven't had a history story in a while. So I had heard about him when I was in ROTC in high school, so I had heard about him from that, but I feel like this guy was I actually don't know if he was behind the Dover build-up. I'd have to look that up. Or maybe one of his students was. Well, yeah, it was after Alamein, so he very well could have been. I would actually have to look up and see if he was involved in that. I don't know for sure, but it would make sense. It is kind of his MO. So, what time is it? 11 o'clock. We'll do one more match before I get off for the night. But yeah, no, that's one of my favorite stories. All the inflatable fake tanks to trick the jury. Yes, I don't know who was in charge. I know what you're talking about. I don't know who actually like came up with that idea though. I know that one was a joint effort. It was all of the allies were involved in that to some degree. So I'm not sure if they probably definitely took cues from him though, if he was not personally involved.